Hi, my name is Nate Nessler, and this is for Hyperactive Studios. Now we're going to continue on where we left off from the HTML series, and we're starting on the CSS series here. So I'm going to show you a couple ways to do this for CSS. One of the first things I want to do here, though, is save a CSS file. There's three ways to do CSS, and I'm going to show you how to do each one. And first, I'm going to work from outer precedence into most or the highest precedence. So we're going to work at lowest first, and then work to highest. So the lowest one is an external file, and this has the most benefits, and this is what most people use when developing websites. And the reason why is because it's, well, besides the fact it's extremely powerful, but you can write one CSS file essentially and control your whole website with it. This keeps you from having to write a bunch of code over and over and over again, and it gets rid of all the redundant code that you would normally do. So that's really, really nice. I'm just going to say I'm going to create a folder because you can have more than one CSS file, and typically I'll call this folder CSS. So CSS like that, and I'm just going to go into my folder. I'm just putting this inside my site, wherever your site is. You know, that's what you put yours. I'm going to call this main.css so that I know that this is the main CSS file. You can name yours whatever you like, but it does need it in .css. I do recommend something like main for your main CSS file, so you always know which one is the master file on your site. Because you can have other CSS files for other purposes, but having one in the main file, and honestly, when you start getting into downloading speeds and things like that, it's really honestly best to keep all your CSS in one file, and then to get rid of any white space and all that stuff, to squeeze it down, compress it so that it can it's not readable when you release it like that. You're gonna have two different versions: one that you do for your release site, and one that you do for your actual coding. Because if you get rid of all the white space, you won't be able to read your own code. But if you leave that white space in when you release the website, it takes longer for the page to load, and it costs money to make it take longer. Because that basically means you're taking more data, and the more data you're putting through, the more it costs, and also affects you for speed for the site loading up. So far as that goes, that matters. Anyways, I'm going to save this inside my CSS file folder, and then now I have a CSS file. Awesome. Well, what I can do is I can come back in here, and inside of the head tag, I can put in a link that points to my new CSS file. Now, what I can do here is type in, open lesson sign here, link space rel equals, in quotes, and we're going to say style sheet, stylesheet, style sheet, like that. And then we're going to say type, and type is going to equal, in quotes, text slash CSS, like this. We're going to also have a closing part of this tag. It's kind of important, as we will absolutely need that. And then we're going to need one more thing here, and that is that we're going to have our href. Remember, we had the same thing when we were doing our links in the other videos, but we're going to say relative here. So we're going to say this file, our index file, is at the top of a hierarchy, and then remember there's that CSS folder, so we have to say CSS. I'm going to say slash going this way, because this is typical of most web servers since they run Unix or Linux on them, mostly Linux at this point. And then I named mine main.css, like that. Okay, and then I can stylize my page, this web page, from this file here, which will be a CSS file. So very, very cool, very, very neat indeed, and very, very powerful too, might I add. It's extremely powerful, matter of fact, and you'd be kind of shocked at just what all you can do with this. To put it simply, it's really quite powerful. But anyways, let me just go over. Let's target the H1 header tag. So this affect all H1s, and it's going to come down in here like this and drop down like that. And I'm just targeting that one. It's a color, and let's make the color something like, let's do red. Semicolon to end it. That's all I'm going to do for that file. Just keeping it real simple at first. And what this will do is any H1 tags in this entire page will become red. So there's only one H1 tag. It's this one right here. And it'll become red. But if we have more than one, all of them would turn red. And that's all we have to do. This is kind of like a markup. This is for like stylizing, placing things of that nature. That's what CSS is for. And you can see a good example of that here in a second. I'm just going to go on down here to my multiple desktops, go to another desktop, launch my Firefox browser, and go to my page. So I just go to Nate. Now you have your own page set up or whatever, and check it out. Our header 1 tag is red and nothing else is. Very, very cool. Very, very simple, yet very, very powerful. Let's go back to our page. Let's do a bit more now. So that was one way to do it. Now, there's more than one way to do it. The other way to do it is a little different, and that's when we inline it. Well, not inline it, I'm sorry. It's when we put it directly into our style sheet. So now you can imagine why this is so good, though, having a separate file like this. Notice I can just include this file in any of my pages. So I can have multiple pages, and I can stylize a bunch of my web pages from one CSS file. This means I don't have to write a whole bunch of code. And since typically you want your website to kind of go together and everything kind of look the same as you go through the page by page, so it all is cohesive and doesn't look like each page is a totally different website. Since you all want to look like the same website, you typically want to do majority of your same CSS. So if you put all your CSS in one file like this, and then link it in to each one of these files, and everything looks the same without you having to do a lot of extra work for each page. It saves you a ton of time and a ton of effort. So it's really, really cool, it's really, really powerful, and it's really awesome. But if you wanted to, you have some more flexibility here. You're not just locked into just that right there. You can then say, well, okay, so I got the CSS in the main file, and then I want to overwrite that from my local file. And I can do that, and I can just type that in directly inside of some style tags. Now you have to put this inside your head tags here, inside the head tags, and you're going to say style. And style means basically CSS. Okay, and this is how you put this directly inside your file, and this does take precedence over what is in an external file. So I want to point this out to you here. So if I say something like HR1, like we did before, and I do open curly braces like so, close it like that, bam, pop over, and then we say like color, colon, and then let's say blue this time, semicolon. Okay, cool. And let's say save, and now when I go, now remember we're still including this CSS file here, so that's still getting applied. However, it's going to be overwritten. Because this is going to go, well, it should be anyways. It made a liar of me. How great. Typically it does. Huh. Did I do something wrong? Oh, I said HR1. Ugh, dude. H1. I'm so, so sorry. Oh, gosh. There we go. Now it's blue. I started out of panic moment. It's like, what? Did they change it? Oh, man. Alright, so, here we go. Gene and Chris is thinking of HR for horizontal rule instead of H1, the full-size text there for header. Anyways, I combined the two tags into a tag that didn't exist. That's why I didn't stylize it. So yeah, so this one takes precedence over this one here. So this is really good because what you can do is you can essentially anything in this file here can be overridden locally. So you can have all your stylizing standardized in this file, and then you can overwrite individual changes as needed in XYZ file that you're working with here. So this adds a lot of flexibility. This also reduces a tremendous amount of your code. And then, if you need to, if this is, and so this can be more generalized, that maybe you need something even more specific to a particular tag, and that you don't want the styling of either this whole sheet here or this one here for that matter. You don't want this one or this one. You need to override it, and it's true and it's good for every other case but this particular one thing. So as a for instance here, say we had a different header tag, and let's make this one green, and I'll say green on it, just so we know that this one's different. And this way we can have, say, hey, we're getting the colorizing for blue on this particular header tag. Everything else is the same, but we're going to override it in this particular case. So let's look at doing that. And I'll kind of give you a better scenario with this stuff here in a second. Well, no, actually, this is pretty good. But anyways, style, style. And we put it inside of quotes like this. And then we're just going to say colon, color, colon, and then whatever color we want. In this case, green. Now, and I can space this or whatever if I want. It's whatever. I typically do because I don't like smashing things together. But anyways, there we go. Now I could, indeed, let's see here. Cool. And see here we get this one is blue and the other one here is green. And this lets inline our CSS. You notice this one took precedence over it. Now all the H1 tags were going to be blue. However, on this particular tag I want it to be green, and I can inline it and take over that functionality. Just like I could also come back over here, instead of saying okay, I want to do just H1s, I can actually say more than one on here if I like. So like H2 also. And now we're covering both H1s and H2s from our external file. And so now they're red on there too. Now notice that I did not overwrite this in the localized style tags inside the header or in an inline definition down here anywhere. So therefore it got stylized from the main one. So this is a way where you can actually use all three methods. It's recommended that you do, but you want to put most of your work over here in your external file. And that's just because you don't want to have to do as much work that way. So if you keep it simple by separating your work out in these external files, then for your CSS, one thing, it makes it where in order to make your global changes to your website, all your changes are in one place. So now you don't have to hunt everywhere for it. Number two, if you need to add another page and reuse something, you can easily. And it's not going to require you to do any extra work in order to stylize that. It's very good. It's very fast and very easy. And then if I come in here and I do my style tags on here afterwards, and then I can take control over individual parts that I need to be for this particular page. I need to look a certain way for something of that nature. And then here I'm like, well, that was good for the global for the whole page, but in this particular instance, I need this particular line to be doing this action. And then we're going to get into later on how we can use IDs and basically classes in order to take even more control over this to better target our tags and our fields more so from the main CSS file, so that we don't have to inline or put style tags in our header as much. It really minimizes the work and basically lets us still do something globally, target individual particular things we want to hit individually, and do it in such a global way that we don't have to rewrite code. So I might create a definition that I want only for certain H1s and not other H1s, and I can apply that to all those H1s, and that would be a class. If I define a class, which we'll get into in just a second, basically what happens is that everything that's part of that class then gets that styling. Whereas if it's part of an ID, it's that particular tag. So anything with that ID is going to get stylized based on that ID. Now, that lets you target a particular tag. Typically, it's what you use ID for, is targeting a single tag. Whereas class, you use it to target a group of tags. And it could be a part of several different things. So this is very powerful and extremely useful. And we're going to get into it some more here. So let's look at a few more of these here. I don't know. Let's look at possibly maybe font size. I don't know. There's lots of them. We could do background colors. We could do lots of things. We're going to go over them. But I don't want to get too crazy at the first here. I do want to kind of hit some of these other parts here. So let's do something a little bit more than just red. Regular text. Maybe for the P one here, we open, and then this is how you handle multiples of these like this. And then maybe for its text, I can say font dash size, and this targets fonts. Some of this font stuff will even be able to target blocks. I'll get into that later. It's quite interesting. And maybe I want to be size 14, point size 14 for my font, and it will make our font really actually bigger. So anything with the P tags that has font in it will now get bigger because of that. So we have our font like this, and I really don't know what size it's at, so hopefully it's bigger. But it's going to go up to size 14 now, and you can see the difference. See how it got bigger just then? It's because it was size 14 for the font, and it affects everything that was inside of a P tag. So it's not going to affect stuff outside of a P tag, but it'll affect stuff inside of P tags. And if it's just regular font, it will handle it. It's not going to handle other tags, things of that nature. So very, very cool, and very, very powerful indeed. So let's look at a bit more of this stuff here, if we could. Alright, so let's look at, I'll tell you what. I talked about background color a second ago. So let's go ahead and look at that real quick. Now we can actually target the actual body tag itself. And this is quite common. We do this all the time. And it's actually quite powerful. But background color can be used more than just the body. You can actually target particular tags and the background behind those tags. So for instance, behind the text, I can change the background of the color behind the text by targeting like P tags or something like that. So I could do that too. It doesn't just have to be like font size or the color of the text. I can actually target the background color behind the text. But I can also just target the entire body of the page, which is essentially the whole background of the page, by targeting the body tag. So if I come here and say body like this, and I do open and close curly braces to find that out, I can then say background. Now there's a whole list of commands doing background, including background image and things of this nature. You can actually make a background image and you can repeat it across X or across Y or whatever. But right now we're just going to focus on color. And then pound. Now I know I've just been typing in particular names of colors, but we can actually do something a little different. I can actually put in the hexadecimal code of that color and define that color, and that'd be kind of ideal. So I could have two different methods for doing this. For instance, if I wanted to represent pure white, since this is in hexadecimal, I could say FFF. Normally you would say 6 Fs like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that would define Y. However, if you're doing repeats, you'll notice something. Hexadecimal on these colors allows for 2 hex numbers per color. And so if I'm just going to be repeating these over and over again, I can actually get away with just typing in a single one for each color. So I could say FFF, and that'd be equivalent to saying F 6 times instead of just 3 times. So only if I'm repeating those. So this will make the background color white. It's not going to be really useful considering it's already white. So that's not going to make much of a difference to you. However, what if we did something like, I don't know, how about we do A, F, A, something like that. So we're going to have red, green, and blue. So I'm making green stronger than red and blue. So we're going to get, can't remember what color this is. Now you could actually go into GIMP if you wanted, or Photoshop, and look up the hexadecimal color when you're selecting the colors inside the program and get colors. That's what a lot of artists do. There's also another wonderful website from Adobe called Cooler.com, and it's spelled K-U-L-E-R, Cooler. If you need to, Google it, but it's really, really powerful, really great. And if you go there, you will find this great site that covers, so it's not about it to be kind of green, because I put those other colors in, it kind of sets it differently. But anyways, it basically shows you different color layouts that work together, and there's thousands of them, and you can make new ones on there, and you can set up your own Cooler account, and it's really, really awesome. It's very powerful, and I highly recommend it for doing website design and color design. Actually, if you just do an art period, it's awesome, because it helps you just lay out color design schemes that go well together, and blah, 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 blah. And it really helps you lay things out with regard to color anyways. Okay. So anyways, that set the background color for the whole body, which aka was the whole page. So there's a good example of that. And oh, I don't know, we could also do an image. Now remember that we have that image from you can take any kind of image you want, grab it, and then put it on the background. Now, in order to be legal, you can't just grab anything you want. You actually need to grab something that that's owned by you. You cannot just grab just anything you want, as far as that goes. But if you like, now I'm just going to basically be overriding the color one with the image. This image essentially is going to take over the whole background, but URL like this, and then I need to do open close parentheses, semicolon, and then I can put it in single quotes inside here if I like, and then I can put in the location. So in my case, I have images slash, and I can't remember the exact location. Don't need to though. I'm going to come over here and grab it. So yeah, images, this whole thing right here. Now you grab your own image that you want to put in there, tell it what you want for its location, and then put it in. And this is going to become the background of my page. And even if it doesn't fit, it's going to be made to fit. Because I can make it stretch if I really want, dynamically on the page. Uh-oh. Did I forget to save? No, I did not forget to save. Did I forget something else? I guess that's the real question. Don't think I did. Alright, let's check something real quick. Need to make sure that my web folder here inside of images should be a file. It's there. Okay. Alright, let me just eliminate the other tag in case it is getting in the way. I thought I'd override it, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Nope. It's just not out flat doing the image instead. Okay, that's what I thought the case was. Had to make sure. Had to make sure. Okay. I'll try double quotes, but single quotes should work. I mean, the location's accurate, so that's why I'm kind of scratching my head at this one here. Unless I typed in, no, it's background image, background dash image. Alright. Well, gee, Christmas, I'm not making any mistakes. Well, I've done this a billion times. That's even worse. If I hadn't done this particular tag so many times, I'd be a little happier, I guess, in this situation. Single quote should be fine though. Double certainly didn't fix anything. So it's not finding the image basically. Not sure why it's not finding the image. It's correct folder, correct name of the file. It's loading on the other page. So I'm not getting it. I don't understand why it's not finding it. Wow. All right. If you need to repeat an image along the X or Y direction, it's cool. Uh, this is particularly great if you have like a single sliver of an image and you're just going to do a gradient basically across it. These images are like 2 kilobits or something like that. It's ridiculously small. And then you can use it to put a nice gradient across the whole back of your page. Now in HTML5 you can actually just include that in the code. But if you don't have HTML5, you're just going to do HTML4, then you can do it like with Photoshop or GIMP, create a gradient, bring it down to 1 pixel width, and then repeat it across the X. But again, that background image has to work before that will work. You have to load that image. And then when you're loading the image, you can sit there and say, oh, well, I'm going to have it repeat, and then I'm going to repeat it across X or Y. In this case, I would be doing it across X usually, and not so much Y, because I'm creating that gradient going like vertically. So if you want the gradient to go vertically, you're going to repeat it across X because you're going to do like a long slither that goes vertical. And then when you repeat it across X, you only need 1 pixel. Then it just repeats that 1 pixel image basically across all the remaining pixels of the screen for the browser, and it makes it work. Of course, your image would have to load up for you to see it. This is so frustrating. Alright, let me just pull up GIMP real quick and make one of these gradients I'm talking about. Just going to go in here, and you can download GIMP for free. It's a free program. Oh, if you don't have GIMP and you're on Linux, you can install it easily. If you're on Windows, I'll show you how to do it. It's really useful when you're dealing with these web pages, and you want to develop something on Ubuntu. The easiest way to do it is just come in here. I mean, you can do it graphically too, but just doing it through command line is faster. But if I say app-get space install space -y space GIMP like that, this will then prompt me for my password. I put in my password, and then it'll just download and install it for me. And there it goes. Now it's downloading and installing it. But say if you're on Windows or on a Mac or something like that, and you want this, and you don't want to purchase Photoshop or something of that nature, you can come in here and go to gimp.org. So we go to www.gimp.org, and then you'll need to download it and hand install it yourself. It's not going to be as easy as it was on Ubuntu there, but you just come in here like this, say downloads, hunt for your particular operating system, and then download it. And they're on 2.86 now. So time you watch this video, it might be further along than this point, but this has a lot of great features, and it's really useful. It's quite nice. But anyways, that's how you get it, and you'll see in just a second, this thing's got a lot of features and a lot of capabilities, needless to say. And you can do a lot of stuff with it. It's very, very powerful. It really comes down to how good of an artist you are as to what you can do with it. So, the program really doesn't make the work, the artist does, so, and it's a great program. It's got a lot of features and capabilities. Alright, but now that's installed, so I can just come over here now and type in GIMP, and I know how GIMP. It's that simple on Linux. So, it's a little older version. It's 2.6 here, but I know everything's compatible with my system, and I don't have to worry or deal with anything. I could still download 2.86 if I wanted to, right off of their site. So that's still an option. It's just I don't care. This right now, I just don't. 2.6 will do me fine. Okay. So the cool thing here is I can come in and I can create a new file, and I want the width to be 1. Or actually, I tell you what, we'll make it like 100. I don't care. Then we'll end up changing it later. And maybe I want the height to be something like 800, just to be sure that I cover majority of the resolution heights. I can make this bigger if I wanted to, but I'm just going to do that right there. Okay, cool. And the reason I do this is because I just kind of want to see what the gradient's going to look like across. Believe it or not, if you have 1 pixel wide, it kind of actually gets hard to see what's happening there. So that can be kind of frustrating. But I actually have a gradient tool. This is almost ridiculous how easy this is. But I actually have a gradient tool, and then I can just choose what my colors are that I'm working with. If I want to do a grayscale one like this, I can, but I can also come in here and choose something else if I want. Like maybe I really would like to have, oh, I don't know, color like that there. Maybe I just want that deep blue, something like that. That's kind of nice. That's kind of pretty actually. And then on this other color here, I'm also going to do a blue, but I might do a very light blue and kind of just, make the page like that. So that would be my gradient. And then for this gradient tool, it gets kind of easy actually. I just kind of click like this and pull it straight down. And it does actually matter if you have it straight or not, but pow, something like that. And that gave me my gradient that way. And I can go the other way with it too. Like I can come down here. What you'll find usually the best results is typically keeping those colors closer together on your gradients than putting them far apart. You might be thinking, oh, you want lots of variation. Actually, you don't, because you kind of have to make colors match up and everything. So if you kind of get crazy with it, you're going to be sorry you did. This is probably too much color variation, actually. For my taste, it is. But this will work for our example. And if I come in here into File, Image, Image, and I can scale my image to 1 pixel width. So we have a width of 100, but I can make it just 1 pixel wide. Undo. Sorry. We need to unhook those because they by default connect together. Image. And let's scale that image. So that's 1. And disconnect it. 800. And again, thank you. And bam, there it is. Okay, so you can't even see it. This is kind of my point. It gets so narrow on this 1 pixel, you can't even make out the actual gradient. So now I zoomed in a bunch of times to see it, 400%, but I really can't make out my gradient. So this is why I personally like to, just from experience, like to make it wider so I can really see that gradient easily while I'm designing the gradient. And then afterwards, shrink it down to 1 pixel and save it. And now I can save this, and I'll just call this like background gradient or something like that. Alright, so I'm just going to pop into my images folder here. Call it this BG gradient. And I'm going to do this as a JPEG. And why? Because it's really, well, I don't know, this has a little color in it. It's values and colors. Let's try PNG. Alright. Just going to save that real quick. Go along with this. You can actually reduce the detail on here, but it's a gradient. I really don't want to reduce it too much. So I'm just going to, that is really high settings, but I don't care at the moment. But you can reduce them for web and all that. Coming back over here now, I now have my gradient image. If I double click it, there it is. There's my gradient. 1 pixel wide exactly. And then now I can refer to BG gradient. Now I can come in here, properties, like so, and grab my PNG. And again, if this thing loves me. Hopefully it finds it. Please find it. And it didn't. Alright, let's try inlining it. See if we get any better results out of that. Not inlining it, but I mean putting it in directly in the file. See if I've made it angry or something. I don't know. Figures. So technically this should work too. And I can also put it directly in the body tag itself with the style. So don't forget, that's also possible. But anyways, go here and load. And bam, there it is. I don't know why it wasn't working in the other file. I really don't. It works great now. That blows my mind. I really don't know why. It was avoiding to do it. But anyways, there we are. Again, it's only good for 800 pixels down, but you see what effect that having a gradient and repeating it along X will do for you. Although honestly, it should do it in an external file, and I've done it more times than I want to count, more sites than I can think of. So I don't know why it's being difficult. But it is. Oh, I'm being crazy. I'm so sorry. I know why. Oh man, you know what? Okay, I'll point this out. Oh, duh. I get why it is. Alright, so when I'm doing my CSS file, I'm in the CSS folder. So the locations where the files are in a different place. So I need to go back one directory and then go into images directory. That means I need to do a // for my file directory tree here. That's why it wasn't working on the other file, and that's why it's not working on this file. I'll show you. That right there is what's needed. That was what I was missing. That's why it didn't work. Gosh. Oh, man. Okay. My mistake. My apologies. I'll prove that this is the case. I'm going to remove this tag here, and it will work. So watch this. Pow. No change. Why no change? Because it worked. Ugh. This also means I can come back over here if I wanted to. Grab my hyperactive logo one. Make sure I put my cursor in the window. It's so easy to move it out when I'm moving it around. I did it again. I can't help myself. Ugh. So if I save that there, probably don't want to repeat it on X, but you get the idea. And there we go. We get that whole logo across our background. So you can do that. It's cool. Very, very powerful and very, very neat. Well, I'm going to go back to my other image. I need to put my cursor in the window to go back to the one by hitting Control Z to undo, and that lets me go back to that one there. So the cool thing about this, putting it into the external file, right, is I can have this nice gradient or whatever graphics I use or whatnot with the repeat, and then I can basically reuse it on every page. Think about it. Every page that has that body tag is going to get the same background. Great. And in that way, I keep everything looking the same between all the different pages. And it looks like one cohesive website. So this is just one technique, one trick you can do for doing this. But these tags are very powerful. And so far, we haven't been playing with ID or class. But there is a way to do that, actually, believe it or not. And it gets into an aspect of where we use, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just show you. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it over here. Okay, so, alright. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do. I'm going to do the class first. Sounds crazy that I'm going to do the class first, but I'm going to. A couple different ways you can do this. Let's say something like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I call one Big Red for big red fonts. I don't know. That's the name of my class. All right, awesome. I could do that, and then everything that includes the big red gets to be big red text. Okay, and then if I say color red, like so, and then I say font size, and make this something like 30 points. Wow. So everything that's part of the big red class is going to get this. And it's going to make it really big and really red, which is kind of the idea. So say I come into this p tag here, and I say class is equal to big red. So we get that first part there. But actually, we need really more than one line to be a part of that same class. So that's cool. And we can do that by coming back over here and Control C, red, like that. Alright, so now everything, so both those tags are part of that same class, but we're not specifying a particular tag. We're specifying a group of tags based on using the same class. So every tag that uses the big red class is going to have that happen. So it's very, very cool. But we can do more than this. You can get really specific with this. And you might be going, oh, cool. Well, here's something I want to point out to you. You can actually target individual tags, types of tags with the particular class. So what I mean by this is, say if I come in here with big red here, maybe I want big red to act differently for p tags than I do for the rest of everything else. So if I say p dot big red like this, and then come in, and I'm still keep it red, but maybe I make it something like 20 instead. Still big, but not as big, because maybe I want for just the p tags, for my paragraph tags, for them to be size 20 instead. Now notice when I refresh this, it shrunk. It shrunk down to a 20. However, if I put this on something else, like, alright, let's do this right here. Let's do this, tell you what, no, let's do this right here. Let's do this thing right here. That'll be fun. So if I make this class here, it's going to turn big and red. So let's come over to our index, and big red is going to mean something completely different on our unordered list. So if I come in here into my unordered list and I say class equals big red, close quotes, like so. Alright. We'll get a different result altogether. So notice this is 20, but this is 30 here. And so this gets into the power of what you can do with CSS by targeting individual groups of tags with classes. So you can apply this to several different things, particular that you want. Maybe set up, I need a certain type of styling, give it a name for a class, and then you can apply that styling to each individual set of tags you need. And then you can say, well, on certain tags, I need the styling to act differently. Alright, and so you don't have to define a whole new set of classes or anything like that. You can actually define how it acts on individual tags, and then when you just use those tags, it just automatically styles it correctly when you use the class with it. And it's just like almost like magic, really. It lets you just kind of like stylize everything and get the exact look you want over and over again. It sounds kind of complicated at first here, but you start working with this, you start seeing how easy and useful this is, and you can do amazing things. Like right now, for instance, I stylized this page. It looks kind of cool. It's kind of a mess, really, with all the colors and everything. But we have this made-up site right here, tag, and you notice it's really blending in with this dark blue here. Well, I can change all the colors of this with CSS. I can actually target the link and do something about that. Remember that the link tags are dealing with A, right? It's the A tag. So I can actually stylize all A tags to look a certain way. And where's that at? Probably skipping right over it several times now. Yeah, so all these A tags here, I can actually target the A tags to have a different color if I want. So I can do that. Maybe I decide they should be green. I can come in here like so. It's blending in too much. It's a problem. Okay, cool. Let's do something about that. I'm going to do A here and just, take control over it like that. I can even specify a class, so I say like maybe A is at the bottom of the page. So maybe it needs to be a different color based on where it is in the gradient. So I can specify that, and then I can assign different A's to different classes as to where they are positioned on the page so it blends better with the page. If you have a gradient or something like that. There's just so much stuff you can do with this. It's great. But for A, I can also change the size of it too. But I'm not going to. I'm just going to set a color here. And remember, pound sign. I'll go ahead and put my semicolon in ahead of time. And red, green, blue, right? So I'm going to do red here. Maybe I do A. Kind of like my A. I don't know. Actually, I want to do something a little darker here. So let's do a darker green, but maybe not too dark. So like maybe 5A5, maybe that would be a good green there. Okay, so let's save that and have a look at this. See what we get out of that deal. Bam. And there's our green on there. Now I can go ahead and adjust this color. Now honestly, let me show you this with GIMP here real quick. Honestly, I don't want to sit there and play around with these colors forever. It's just a waste of time. So to be totally honest, you want to do this in something like a program like GIMP. So I come over here and launch my GIMP again. Here it comes. Awesome. What I can do is I can come in here to my color and select it. You might go in, oh, okay. So what's the big deal with this? Well, actually, it's quite interesting. Notice that as I select these colors, I'm getting a hexadecimal value. And I'm also getting to see what my color is going to look like. So we get our current color here. This is the color, and here's the hexadecimal code. So I could literally come in here and say we had that green a second ago. We can go, well, what would be the best green to work with that blue? Now look, check it out. I can actually manipulate my blue values too on here. So this way I can get like a blue-green. And maybe I can get something that I feel would work really nice, but would still, display where it's decisively different than the background of the page, but maybe, stand out but not too much to the point where it's like hideous. Alright, so here's the code. Here's the hexadecimal code. Now, am I going to figure that out easily? No. But can I come in here easily inside of GIMP or Photoshop and get that color that I want for the hexadecimal value to do my page? Oh, absolutely. And I can do it rather quickly, too. But pop back over here now. Let's change that value. So I was guessing at it earlier, but now I really know what it should be. It should be like that. It should have been 46BAA6, maybe. Maybe. We'll see how it looks. We'll find out. And then now, yeah, I like that better. Now I got a blue-green that really does stand out against the page. However, it does blend with the page better too. But it is enough of a color variance there that really stands out. And it's nice. But we didn't choose a really bright color. Remember, we actually chose a darker, more washed out color. But against this gradient, it really stands out. So that's a good example of manipulating things with CSS. When you talk about CSS, really, you're really talking about getting into the artistic aspect of how you're going to lay out your page, how's it going to look, how you can position things, blah, blah, blah. And we'll get into positioning things here in the next video. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about colorizing things, about positioning things a bit. I don't know, there's some really powerful capabilities here with this. And yeah, I'm going to get into some things for like how you position a particular, because we don't have the center tag anymore inside of HTML. They got rid of it, so we need to position things with CSS, and there's a way to center a page, and it always messes with everybody, and I want to show how to do it. So, kind of important, and we kind of need to go over it. So, but anyways, with that, this is that covers pretty much the first part of CSS here, and then we'll be covering a good number of videos on how to stylize and colorize your page, how to position elements, how to do, we need to at least position elements. It's very, very important to position things on a page, and we'll start going over that. Anyways, with that, my name is Nate Nessler, and this is for Hyperactive Studios. See you later.